is up, everybody? You know who it is. It is your allies behind enemy lines, Ryan and Joy, coming at you thoroughly behind enemy lines, holding it down for all you guys out here in Texas, in Cowboys territory behind enemy lines. I'm here in Dallas. Joey's down there in Austin, holding it all down. If you're here on YouTube, thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. Ring that notification bell. If you're listening to us via podcast, make sure you like, rate, subscribe, review. You can find us, again, obviously, here on YouTube, anywhere you find your podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're also on SoundCloud, all by searching Allies Behind Enemy Lines. We're on Twitter at AlliesBEL. While you're on our Twitter, go ahead and check out that link so you can get some fresh Allies Behind Enemy Lines merch. Our first t-shirt drop that we did. Let everybody know who you're rocking with, and that you got allies that got your back no matter where you're at if you are supporting the Washington football team. And you can also find us on Facebook, where all of our YouTube videos are dropped as well, all by searching Allies Behind Enemy Lines podcast. Joey, it's been a week since we've touched base. Quick little news note. Slow news time right now, so I think we're just going to cut to the 1 day a week on Friday, just kind of wrap up the whole week's worth of news, because that's usually what happens. Monday, we record. It's just, covering stuff that may or may not have happened over the weekend. And then Friday is usually the big news dump of when we can kind of wrap up everything that happened Tuesday through Thursday. So just a little programming note there, up until, maybe until training camp starts or a little bit after that, we'll be rocking with the one video a week, one episode a week starting today with this one. That's why we're gonna have a show on Monday. So yeah, just be looking for that dropping Friday afternoons right around this time or later. But Joey, how you been, man? Everything going good?
Everything's well, man. Yeah, thanks for asking. Not getting to the end of this school year and getting closer and closer to that draft, so this speculation season can just come to an end. It's just so I don't know how many mock drafts I've done. I'm talking to a Dolphins fan every day who's talking about his number 6 pick if he can really get Pitts. I've been talking to all these other Cowboy fans, but it's everyone's in this speculation season. So it's going to be good to get closer and try to get some clarity to this very cloudy offseason picture, I should say.
Very, very much so. Very cloudy. So many moving parts. So many dominoes that you're just waiting to fall. As you're talking about that number 6 pick with Miami. Who knows what they're going to do? There's still talk that they could move back up again from 6 to 4 and maybe try to get somebody there. Atlanta obviously has somebody that they can move. They can either take Kyle Pitts, they can take a quarterback there. But we said last week how the draft really does start at pick number 4 because we kind of know. See, now things are changing a little bit because it was Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson. Then it seemed like it was going to be Mac Jones. Now I'm seeing things that maybe it's Justin Fields for San Francisco at number 3. So, we'll really find out, obviously, at pick number 4, if anybody tries to decide to trade up to that pick, if Atlanta decides to take Kyle Pitts. And it'll really start there. We were talking a little bit pre-show, and you think that number 4 pick and that number 10 pick with the Cowboys can really set the tone for what happens for us at 19 as well as later down the road. I want to hear where you think it could go and why you kind of think that.
Well, you got to think about number 4 pick, because we already know, San Francisco's not trading up to draft anybody but a quarterback, whether it be Fields, whether it be Jones, whether it be Trey Lance, who knows? They shocked the world. But right there at number 4, that's going to be the telltale sign. Does Atlanta take somebody, or does somebody else really freak out and want a quarterback and try to get a quarterback there? So if that happens, then all quarterbacks are off the board. Pretty much almost all quarterbacks are off the board. I would expect all 5 to go in the top 10. Then you're pushing all of these tackles and all these wide receivers, a lot of these quarterbacks into the teens before they're in the 1 through 10. So then you're getting a whole new crop. And when that happens, it definitely what's going to happen is other teams, not just the 1 through 20 teams, are going to see you start seeing, a Jamar Chase at number 10, and you're like, oh my God, I can jump down there and get him with no way I was going to go up to number 4 or 5 to get him, but I think we might be able to go up to number 10 and get him. You start that domino effect, and and then it goes all to tell. It's pretty much, all out of whack. Then I talk about the Cowboys as well, and because to me they're like the first team that really just it's going to go defense for sure, no matter what. I don't think any other team is for sure going defense in those top 9 picks, other than the Dallas Cowboys there at 10. Now, if they don't, again, if they see one of those shiny Jamar Chases, Jalen Waddles, Jerry Jones loves those, Mercedes driving by, or then again, it's going to throw the whole defensive class, those cornerbacks, all up again into the teens where we thought they'd be gone by. So it's going to change our. In my opinion, if both those things happen, we're going to be able to get our choice of a tackle or linebacker at that spot. So it's very pivotal what everyone's doing in front of us, and one of these years that I just really want to sit back and watch. I don't want us to try to do anything other than just kind of see and watch what we can try to get without giving up anything.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I've mentioned too, a little bit that I wouldn't mind trading back if we feel like we can, even if it's like 3 or 4 picks, maybe grab an extra third or fourth rounder this year. I don't know how much. I guess it depends on who's sitting there, of what the haul would be. I'm not super in favor of trading up and trying to go get somebody. I just feel like you said, if everyone kind of we will be able for sure be able to tell after 10 if we do need to go up and get somebody, if we do need to go get Dare South, if we do need to go get whoever it may be, that we like at that spot. And it's crazy. I mean, out of Redskins, or excuse me, Washington football team camp, like there really hasn't been any leaks of which way they're going. Like I think anybody's guess is as good as the next guy's. You know what I mean? Whether it's tackle, whether it's linebacker, whether it still might be wide receiver, whether it still might be quarterback. Ian Rappaport came out and reported today that's, taking a quarterback isn't out of the realm of possibility for Washington in that first round. Martin Mayhew said, they're open to trading up to get a quarterback. They're also open to trading back. If we're going to do one of the two, I would like to trade back again, accumulate a little bit more draft stock, draft capital, and be able to make some moves there. Maybe in the later rounds, you're able to use that pick you used to move up again, whatever it may be. But it's, so the fact that we really don't even have a good idea of what direction we may be going as far as not even position, but like what side of the ball are we going to be drafted on? Are we going to be drafted on the offensive or defensive side of the ball? It makes it kind of tough to say one way or the other, what the right move might be. I think we both agree that trading up for a quarterback, that's not the move, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
definitely, you don't want. And I heard the comments from Ron Rivera and then the follow up as well, about Mark Mayhew, and what he had, what he had said was if you don't have one of the top 32 quarterbacks, there's not 32 good quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
And if you don't have one of the elite guys, then you're always on the lookout for, somebody that could come in and be that guy. And so that's why you can never rule it out. He's not really saying that they might be really focusing in on it, but he's like, you always got to do your due diligence and make sure you're scouting all possible opportunities when it comes to that position because of the importance. And like you said, only 32 guys on earth can start, football games for an NFL football team. So, and I think that's one of the things why it's so cloudy is because nobody really knows what anyone's going to do, and they don't want to tip anybody else off. If anybody knows that we want to go get a tackle, they see tackles, so people are going to want to tackle too. They're going to start jumping us. You know what I mean? So you don't really want to give away too much of your hand, especially when you have so many, options that are out there as far as trading back, trading up, which I think, there's nobody in this draft other than Trevor Lawrence, in my opinion, that you would trade up for. That's basically it. And with, the 19th pick and being, I think we have the luxury of being a little bit choosy of all the where we actually want to go after in that. Like we said before, me and you both, I think, are pretty sold on either a tackle or a linebacker. But if some of these things we've talked about earlier are happening, and you guys got like Patrick Surtain sitting there, or someone like, it's just going to be hard to pass on someone like that. Or I think that, again, I think another team would want to come and trade with us. But I think there's so much depth in the second and third round that if we're not going to get one of these top tier tackles that we've talked about, I'm talking Darisaw Slater or Sewell, or not getting, Jock or Micah Parsons, those 5 players, I can say it right there. If we're not getting one of those 5 players, or 6 players, I should say, it's 5, I said to say 5, 3 tackles, 2 linebackers, then it's better to trade to stack picks because there's so much better in the second round. You got tons of linebackers, you got tight ends, linemen, secondary things that you can kind of get more chances at rather than taking a chance on a guy for a position that you might not even need.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. I've fallen in love with David Collins a little bit. He's kind of a guy that's kind of sneaking up there. That's really kind of grabbed a hold of my heartstrings of if that's the only option there at 19, if we take him, I won't be totally crushed. The other fellow that's kind of making his way up draft boards, and I don't know if he's exactly the fit for us because he's an edge rusher, is He's also from Penn State, Jason Owe.
Uh-huh.
He's kind of a guy there that might be, like I said, again, doesn't make sense because of how good our edge already is. But he's just a guy that's just soaring up the draft boards, a freak athlete. Now, Jock, I've also heard him called the Joker, which I don't hate as a nickname. He looks like he could be going to top 15 round or top 15 pick. So, that guy, he might be gone. A guy that you put your nose on or put your finger on as far as somebody that we could be targeting early on, at least a month ago or so. He's rising up draft boards at an amazing.
We gotta stop
rate.
talking about this stuff. They're watching our show. They're going after. I started off with Slater when he was like in the 20s, I think, when I started that mock draft, and all of a sudden he's like in the top 10. We start naming these other guys off, and they're you had Darasol. They start shooting, falling down.
Greg Newsome, he was a second round pick in my first one, and now he's going to be a top 20 pick maybe. It's crazy.
Yeah. These allies out there, they're getting us, man.
they're getting us. We appreciate the support and appreciate you guys getting the word out. No, but yeah, no, I agree. Like, it's. I think when usually it's hey, maybe go get the best guy available. I think in this case for Washington, it's go get a draft for need. So if your need isn't there at 19. Like you said, trade back and get some draft capital, be able to maybe make some moves later in the draft or maybe grab another guy or two later in the draft. We already have, 2 third-round picks? So,
give us a third round, and then you can grab any quarterback you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Any quarterback you want, and you've got some other capital as well for it. You
can position yourself to maybe move up into the second round. You know what I mean? Move, not only move up, but gain another second round pick by combining a couple of those thirds together. So the possibilities are endless if we are able to trade back and get a little draft capital there. But again, all speculation. We don't really know which way it's going, one way or the other. But it's all fun and games. But we are about 2 weeks away from the draft. It's coming to an end.
2 weeks away. It'll be less than 2 weeks. The last night would have been the first round, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
last night would have been the first
13 days. We'll be having some names called and some lives changed.
Yeah, a lot of lives changed. Not just players drafted, but the guys like us that are
exactly.
that are following along with every move. But so next up, as we shift away from the draft, topic we haven't really talked much about recently, but it's kind of making its way through the news cycle again, is the name of the Washington football team. They put out a couple things the other day for fans to select as what their favorites might be. I'll read a couple out. The Washington Monarchs, the Presidents, the Wild Hogs, the Riders, the Washington Capital City Football Club. They'd go by CCFC. I don't know how I feel about that. Obviously, the Washington Red Wolves, the Washington Aviators, the Washington Wayfarers. So now we're just naming different types of Ray-Bans. The Washington Ambassadors. And then the list goes on to the Griffins, the Warriors. That was my first pick. The Armada, which I kind of like that. The Washington Armada kind of sounds cool. The Washington Rising sounds like a WNBA team to me. The Swifts. If we could get the Taylor Swift fans to come out along with that, might be cool. The Washington Commanders, the Washington Pilots, the Rubies. I don't love that. The Renegades is kind of dope. The Washington Renegades, and then the Washington DC Football Club, which would go by DCFC. So that was a long list of names that they put out there. And when talking with Jason Wright, he did an interview. Not that I talked to him. He did an interview. Let me get that clear. And he said the purpose of putting out so many options is so that they can see what names fans like and which ones they're attracted to and which ones they just, want to stay away from altogether. So that way, just by selecting these, that doesn't mean that those are going to be the finalists for names. It's just, okay, this is the direction fans would like to see us go, and they want to make sure we stay away from this direction, which I think is great in research and development of trying to make sure, that this multi-billion-dollar corporation and a team that's been around that has tons of loyal fans and a loyal following, all through the trials and tribulations, the ups and the downs of this franchise, can connect to and really get behind and root for, which I think was a great idea. Like I said, not just saying, hey, go pick your favorite one and we'll pick from that group, but more so it's like, okay, so this is what they like, this is what they don't like. Then we can kind of start focusing and narrowing down to more types of those types of names.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one of those things I used to think about all the time. Is like some things are inspired by things that they like, and some people are inspired by things that they hate. And it's like, when I know music, I'm like, if I start doing something, I'm like, man, that sounds like so and so, and I hate so and so. So let's not do that. That makes me so. I mean, that's I think a lot comes into play when you think a lot of these names. You don't want to sound like you said. That sounds like an NBA WNBA team. That sounds like a who knows? There's different little league team. That sounds like a weird boring soccer club name. It's just so there's different things. It's like, do people, like you said, do people want that? Do they want to have a traditional, mascot? Do they want to have something a little bit more obscure? Where it's like you have to kind of think about what the mascot would be. What would the Ramado's mascot be? It's just, like running around the field. That's what I always think about. But
A Nissan Armada just driving up and down the sidelines.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. But it is refreshing to see that they are putting a lot of thought in it. And I think that's the biggest takeaway is that, you think back to like the Titans, the Ravens, when they kind of did those rebrands and those name changes. I don't know if you remember that much, but there was like nothing. Also, you just, all right, we're the Titans. Deal with it. All right, we're the Ravens. That's who we are now. We're the Houston Texans. That's who we model ourselves after or whatever. So it's interesting to see that they put that much care to it, and that they're not just gonna just throw a name out there and we'll just go with that one. So I'm expecting that by the time we get to a name, that it's gonna be the majority of a lot of what these fans want.
Yeah, and you're never gonna make it, anybody 100. There's gonna be people that still hate it. There's gonna be people that love it. There's gonna be people that are like, okay, that's the name. It is what it is. You're not gonna get 100% approval rating in anything you do nowadays, especially in the age of the internet. So, like you said, the best thing I think they can do is just try to find a name that people can connect to and that they can get behind. Like you think about it, you mentioned all three of those names right there: the Titans, the Ravens, the Texans. Like I couldn't think of any other name. Like those names are good. Those are like good names. You know what I mean? And that's what you want to, when and that was the other point that was made. You fast forward 5 or 10 years down the road, and you think about whatever the name's going to be, you're not even going to remember that it once was the Redskins or that it once was the Washington football team. If the name changes from that, what I mean? It's just going to be like, that's just going to be the name, whether you like it or not. And as long as, like I said, as long as it's something that people can connect to, in a sense, I think they can't go wrong. I think one name that's kind of left off, which, again, this is kind of tough because of the Harlem Globetrotters, the Washington Generals. I think that could have been a cool name, but they kind of ruined that because the Generals were the team always getting beat on by the Globetrotters. But my number one pick has always been the Warriors. It still is the Warriors. I didn't think that there was a possibility that it would be the Washington Warriors, but the fact that it was on this list, maybe gives me a little bit of glimmer of hope. Brian Mitchell and JP Finley, they have their show on 106 The Fan in DC. And B. Mitch gave out his rankings of the top names, and his number one was the Warriors. Number two is the Warhogs, which I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know what a Warhog is.
Everyone's gonna call us the Pigs. Everyone's gonna call us the Pigs.
You think about the Hogettes, the Hogs, things like that,
But everyone's gonna call us the Pigs. So it's just gonna be one of those things. I think that
I would almost prefer like the Warthogs, like Pumbaa from Timon and Pumbaa. Like I would prefer the Warthogs over the Warhogs.
Yeah, the Warhog. Anything with hog in it. I like the nickname Hog. Kind of like it'd be like if you called the Cleveland. If you changed Cleveland to the Cleveland Dogs, anything Dogs. Like the nickname is cool, but the mascot is not cool. I don't think it's one of those things that it's like. So it's interesting that even gained them as much traction as it has. In my opinion, it's like that sound just like, to me it does. It sounds very like juvenile and like, I don't know, just like the Hogs. I mean, it just doesn't sound like a professional team to me. It's again one of those things inspired by things we don't like.
Yeah. He goes on. His number 3 favorite was the Red Wolves. That's Joey's favorite pick, the Washington football team, which I'm 100% okay with. Like I'm down for the Washington football team, and then the Red Tails, which I don't know why. I think I'm vehemently. How do you say that? Vehemently. One more time. I'm very against. Very strongly against the Red Tails. I think because that was like the I don't know why. I'm just against it a lot, and I think of it because the majority of people were like, it has to be the Red Tails. Like the Red Tails is the only thing that makes sense. Like no, like we could go in a totally different way. I mean, everyone wants red to be part of the name. I don't know that it necessarily needs to be part of the name. The Red Wolves, like that's fine. The Red Hawks, I don't know if that's even in consideration, but I mean, I don't know. It's like I said, it's something that's it's gonna be another what 8 to 12 months before we find out what it's gonna be, anyways. But again, it kind of made its way through the news cycle. I don't think a lot of people would be upset if they stuck with Washington football team, and then it just becomes like, oh, it's a team with no name, and it's like, well, you're stupid because we're just the football team. Like
Exactly. No name would be like Prince back in the day when it was a symbol. That's no name.
Yeah.
That's just that's just a thing. So
if we
stop
just went by
saying
like
that.
Washington, like if it was just Washington, that would be a team with no name. But we are the football team.
There you go. Yeah, we're the football team. You know exactly what we are. We're a football team, and I think it's clean. It sounds professional. It's almost gives you like that Penn State. You know what I mean? Like this, like we're just a football team. We got all the pads on, the big shoulder pads, the helmets. You know, all the. It's like we're just a football team. We're no flash. You know, no long hair, even though Chase Young has long hair hanging out the back. But you know what I mean? It gives like that real clean cut football team feel. So I like it a lot too. It's clean. It feels clean.
Well, and Cole Holcomb, he's got the Kentucky waterfall going too.
Oh
so.
yeah, that's. Oh, you got to know when to Hulk 'em and know when.
Probably the biggest news that probably should have started off the show. Great job by the host here, Ryan. We signed Sammy's Reyes, tight end from Tulane, which was technically a basketball player from Tulane, graded out as the most athletic tight end in this year's draft over Kyle Pitts. So which was, pretty exciting when you see that. He is a guy that's just a freak athlete. He can run well. He looked a little slow to me. It looked like he was, had a little trouble putting those feet up and down. You make a face. You don't think so?
Did you see the time?
Well, no. I saw the 4.64 or I think it was a 4.640, right?
He looked like
4.65.
it looked a lot like Montez Sweat when he ran. It's just those long strides. It's those long.
That might be what it is. I more so was talking about when he was out in the open field catching passes. That's what it looked like when he was. And it is, who knows with Kyle Trask throwing balls or whoever was those throwing balls, but just when like he was catching balls and running down the field, it just looked like it was a little laborious. I don't know if that's a word. He had to put in a lot of work to run a little bit. But like I said, freakish athlete, 6'5", 250 to 260. 40-inch vertical, like I said, the 4.65 40. He's still going to have to learn quite a bit, but maybe he can go the way of an Antonio Gates, a Jimmy Graham, all these Tony Gonzalez, all these former basketball players that were able to make this switch. And if so, if we're able to find yet another diamond in the rough, like what we did with Logan Thomas, and maybe transform him into an all-pro tight end, or maybe just a very good tight end. I mean, that would be a huge get. We don't even have to sign, have to use a draft pick on him. We literally just signed him because he wasn't entering the draft, because he wasn't eligible for the draft, because he wasn't an NFL football player, which I don't know how that worked, but it works out in our favor if he's great.
And not only that, but if I might be wrong, so don't attack me, people, if I am wrong. But I know I know he was part of that with that international program where they try to get opportunities for athletes that are out of this country. And if I'm mistaken, though, you don't even have to take up a roster spot for those guys. They grant you an extra roster spot. So they get So you get a 54-man roster, so he's not even taking up a spot. Obviously, you got to pay him. You don't get extra salary cap. But you have room to carry this guy to help to do just like you said, to bring him on, allow him to learn, and see how to be on the team is like, and it obviously, like anything else, it's going to prompt more teams to want to do that, to be able to give a player from a different, a chance if they don't have to give up a roster spot to do that on. So if that's true, you're talking win here. Because I've seen different reports that he's 6'7" or 6'8". Either way, that's a huge tight end. You're talking Jimmy Graham. You're talking an athletic Jimmy Graham right there. And I saw the what was it, Florida, I think was his pro day.
Yep.
I saw some of the film, and obviously you're not going to be able to tell until he gets in a uniform, put some pads on, and just like Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan until they get hit in the mouth one time. So we're not going to see what happens until he gets some pads on and really get someone, going across the middle to really check him and say, oh, wait a second, this is a different speed. But if you're talking about straight, athletes are athletes. And anyone that knows that, you can think back to PE, back in the day. And no matter who was the athlete is, no matter what sport you were playing, they were the best. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you're playing baseball, basketball, or whatever, that person was the best person in PE. And if you're that type of athlete, I think the learning curve is going to be a lot more kind to you. as because as it comes down to the old Belichick mentality is beat the guy in front of you. That's all it is. It comes very simple down to beat the guy in front of you. And he's already at an athletic and physically gifted standpoint over probably 95% of the NFL. As you talk about his size and his freakish abilities. So if you're talking about just being able to, chip somebody real quick and get out there and stand there and get the ball in his hand, fight it, and then just truck and then have people try to tackle and catch this guy, I'm all for it. If you're talking about handing the ball to Antonio Gibson and asking him to run over, Joey Bosa or Nick Bosa or something like that, I think he can do it as well. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing I'm looking forward to. Not these spectacular, Travis Kelce-like numbers. I'm looking forward to a guy that loves to compete and wants to, and wants to prove that he's a good athlete and that we can use in all kinds of different areas.
Absolutely. And like you said, if he can just be just an athlete out there, I mean, we've seen we got another one of those guys in Curtis Samuel who we signed, this year. He's just an athlete, but get the ball in his hands and see what happens. And I think this guy can kind of be, hopefully, he might be able to project to like you said, a Jimmy Graham. I already named off all the former basketball players: Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez. If he can be a baby Gronk or a Travis Kelce, obviously we're comparing him to the really, really good guys, but those are all guys that are freak athletes that have freak size and
mismatches.
Perform.
It's mismatches. Those all they are.
Exactly. Yeah. Too fast to be defended by a linebacker, too big to be defended by a corner. Like that's what you want to do. And two, we talked about a couple weeks ago, Warren Sharp mentioned 21 personnel, 2 tight ends, 1 running back. That's one of the that is the most productive package in football, whether in terms of scoring, in terms of yardage gained, in terms of pretty much every scenario. First downs achieved, it comes out of that 21 personnel. And if we have a Logan Thomas that we can split out wide or have them both on the line, and split out that way, the sky's the limit for the possibilities of what this guy could do. Kind of backtracking, but we released Thad Moss. He gets signed by Cincinnati. He was a guy that we thought maybe would be able to, make an impact this season. He was kind of undersized, so then we go in the complete opposite direction. And I think this is what we're going to see going forward. I think, we always see the NFL kind of trending in the same direction. They always say it's a copycat league. I think more and more teams are going to be going to look for these 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", 250, 260 guys and just try to turn them into tight ends. Like if you can catch a ball, they can probably teach you everything else and keep it really simple for you. Just as long as you can catch and maybe just stand in front of a really big dude for at least 3 or 4 seconds in blocking, you should be able to do okay if you can move your feet a little bit. And obviously this guy played defense, in basketball. Not saying it's the same thing, but you have to move your feet. You got to stay in front of a guy.
He's played
What's
football.
That?
He played football through high school. I don't know if you knew that or not. He's played football. Football is not a new game to him.
No, I know. But as far as, high school football and then not playing any college football, and then now you're going to the pros, that's a big leap.
But we're talking about, maybe the things that you're talking about are fundamentals. Catching the ball, like if you're, if we're still learning him to catch the ball. Obviously more advanced schemes you're talking about, and you're playing against better players in college than you are in high school. You're like a couple of really good guys. But as far as the basics of football, being able to run, knowing how to block, where to put, how to catch a ball. Obviously, he's done it before, so it's not like we're getting some guy that just only played basketball and say, all right, we got to teach you everything. It's just getting him to be able to play it at a higher level.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I guess being more efficient with it, right? Because every movement, everything that you do, you got to be efficient within the NFL, or else, a split second is all that costs you. And it's either an interception or it's an incomplete pass or a sack, whatever it may be. So that was a good point to point that out. That's, it's not like you said, we just found this guy that's big and played a little bit of basketball and we're going to try and turn him into a football player. He has played football in the past. So that was a good point. But this is another exciting thing to see of what comes of this. We've talked about tight end time and time again. That's a big need for us and getting that second guy behind Logan Thomas. And, this could be him. It could be, maybe, and I don't expect it to happen overnight. It could be a 2-3 year process. And I think Washington should give him that time and not hope that, hey, if you're not getting it done this year, you just can't do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I like a lot of people to talk about someone that, a couple years ago who they thought was just either a body or just an athlete and really couldn't play football very well, named DK Metcalf. And he came out and just...
Who was dumb enough to think that? That is
I don't know,
crazy.
man. I don't know. But I tell you, You got, you're an athlete. Just like I said a few minutes ago, you're an athlete. It's hard to deny athleticism. You know what I mean? No matter what you're doing, you might overrun plays and make mental mistakes because you don't know. But it's not going to be because you're not going to miss plays because you're not an athlete. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. Well, as we talk about this tight end, Sammy Reyes, I teased last week that there was a tight end that I had my eye on that we could get in the draft, that we could make a move for. That was obviously before all this happened. I still think it wouldn't be a bad idea to take a look at this guy because of the type of tight end he is. So in our previous mock draft, you probably don't remember, but just a quick brief reminder, I had Brevin Jordan coming out of Miami and the third round of our draft, the second of the 2 third rounds, so our 4th pick of the draft, because I had Christian Darrisaw, Dylan Moses, Amari Rogers, and then Brevin Jordan. Well, he was kind of an undersized tight end. We talked about maybe, making him a split out guy. Well, I'm going to nix that. He's off the board because like I said, I did have my eye on this guy. So with that second pick in the 3rd round, I would like to make my switch to a cornerback out of Georgia by the name of Tyson Campbell. He's a decently sized athletic corner. He's been a guy like we talked about with Kellen Mond. He's shown a lot of development the last couple of years. He's gotten better. And one of the things I say that's good about him is he battles throughout the play. He's willing to defend the run. He works to get off blocks. So, he's a guy that's going to work hard for you. So that's going to be my new third round pick instead of Brevin Jordan. Now, my 4th round pick after Brevin Jordan, remind me who that was.
Shaun Wade. Well, I just watched a piece on him, too. So I'm pretty stoked on that pick that you had there, that Shaun Wade cornerback at Ohio State. What was his name? I'm updating as you're talking real fast. Who was that again? You went?
Tyson Campbell, cornerback out of Georgia. He's going to be that second, 3rd round pick.
All right. Yeah, I got you. All right. Yeah, so you had after that, you had Shaun Wade out of Ohio State as our 4th round pick. So I don't know if you still think we're going to take back-to-back corners?
Yeah, that's a good point. Because my 5th round pick is Ellinger.
I don't even know. You're still thinking of Amari Rogers in the 3rd round after we got Curtis Samuel?
Oh, fuck, you're right. Yeah. And Adam Humphries? Yeah, probably not. We got to go back to the drawing board, boys. We got to go back to the drawing board real bad. So yeah, okay. So we're gonna put a pin in that one. So next Friday, I'm just gonna come out with a whole new draft. That's gonna be the plan. Whole new draft next Friday. And so
I think I like that idea, and I think we should just do a mock 1st round of everybody and talk about that, every team, and then just kind of update that way. It can kind of see what different as we're doing that. We can kind of talk about it and see what different scenarios could fall to us. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like. It's hard to do when you're doing the mock if you're not picking for everybody.
Yeah. And you know what? Let's do this. Let's go ahead and move Shaun Wade up to that 2nd, 3rd round pick. I'm going to go ahead and reach for Shaun Wade at that 2nd.
They're talking about him in the 2nd round earlier, just so you know.
Okay.
I guess he had a really good 2019, had an injury at the end of it, and then a knee injury last year. So, and he cut his hair off. He's got long hair, so he's all shortcut now. And went and visited the WWE for an internship. I don't know if you knew that. And
I did not know that.
And he went down to Florida and worked with Triple H and Shawn Michaels and saw how WWE was produced. And it's pretty strange internship. But I guess he had a long lost love for wrestling. So he might be another turn wrestler after his career's over. Who knows?
That's funny. So yeah, so let's move Shaun Wade to that 3rd round pick. So then my 4th round, because that 5th round is Sam Ehlinger, correct?
The 5th rounder is Sam Ehlinger, correct? Yes. Yeah, so
and I want to keep that. So my 4th round pick is going to be tight end out of Mississippi State. He's a guy that's, out of Ole Miss. Tight end out of Ole Miss. He's a guy that they talk about. He can be on the field for every play because he's a blocker. He can go out and make catches. He can split out wide. He's a guy. He's another big body, and it's going to be Kenny Yeboah, I think is how you pronounce it. Kenny Yeboah. He's a guy that's going to so it's Kenny, and then it's Yeboah.
Yeboah.
A as an apple. H
Kenny
as in
Yeboah.
hammer.
All right, got him. And he's out of where?
What's that?
Where's he out of?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. All right, gotcha.
Right around 6'4", 250 pounds. Again, he's great. He's an explosive pass catcher, and he can get off the line really quick. He's able to block really well. Like I said, he can play both. He can be on the line. He can split out wide. So that's kind of what I think we could be looking for in the draft to kind of solidify, because this guy is more of a pro prospect than I would say Sammy's Reyes is, just because all things considered, he played SEC football for the last 4 years. He's a redshirt senior, so technically 5 years. And so he's more of a pro prospect. So I think that 4th round pick is where we're going to go with Kenny Yeboah for today. And again, next week, we might circle back around and change that, but I wanted to slide
I put
in.
this our mock draft up on the screen now, so everybody can see the changes now.
Cool.
That we have there. So now you're Darisaw, Moses, Rogers still. So you're gonna have to go back and change that one.
Yeah, we're gonna change that.
Sean Wade, Kenny Yeboah, Ellinger, Jacoby Stevens, and Jamin Osbin.
Jamon Osbin, yeah.
Yeah,
yep.
Javon Osbin, yeah. So,
so,
and to remind you of who I have, if for those who don't know, and who can't read right here, I have Jock. Then I have Pat Fryermouth, who I might change now, obviously with the addition of a new tight end. But who knows? We might have to sit this.
I don't know. I texted you. Remember, I texted you. I said he's gaining some steam in the draft. So I don't know if that's a bad pick either. Again, another guy that we mentioned, and 2 weeks later, like I said, and I just texted you out of the random, was like, bro, this guy's gaining some traction yet again. So somebody else that we mentioned here, and all of a sudden, he's shooting up. He's shooting up draft boards.
Yep. And I had Jabril Cox in at number 3. I still love that pick. Spencer Brown, offensive tackle, Iowa, as the second, 3rd round pick. Trey Sermon, running back of Ohio State, 4th round. Sam Ellinger, we both have in the 5th round. Caden Stearns, I have the safety out of Texas in the 7th. And our last pick, Riley Patterson, the kicker out of Memphis.
I love it. I love that Riley Patterson pick.
But just want to give everybody a... That's over.
Whoops.
That was like the comeback feeling that you get after you're looking at our mock draft. It's like, yeah, we're back again.
So okay, yeah, I think I got a good idea of what we're gonna do next week. All right, I'm locked in. I'm ready to go for the mock draft next week. All right, but that's all I got for this week. You got anything else? Kind of a long show today. I guess.
Yeah, it is. But we're gonna only do one show. We gotta be able to get our words out, for the week. So I mean, we're doing 2 almost 30-minute shows, and we do one 40-minute show. I think that works out good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so as always, if you're watching us here on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed, ring that notification bell, so as soon as we drop the latest and greatest heat, you are updated. You can find us anywhere podcasts are found: Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and of course SoundCloud. Check us out on Twitter at AlliesBEL. Check out our merch we dropped there. Get yourself we all need allies t-shirt, so that way, again, you can support the podcast a little bit, let everybody know who you're rocking with, and you can check us out on Facebook by searching Allies Behind Enemy Lines podcast. So until next week, everyone have a great weekend. Have a great week. Joey, you have a great week yourself, sir. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Y'all take care.